actually running it. So as you can see, this magnet just pulls it out. As we concentrate, then the iron-rich component. And I just thought of that technique myself. Then when you look at this iron-rich component in the dust, you do see some dust particles that come along. And when I first saw it, look at all those little spheres. See? Some of them are quite perfect, others are rough. Let's see, there, that one's quite rough. And there's about 2 dozen spheres in this view, if you look and count. A lot of these. Okay, this is now a much larger magnification. That is a higher magnification. 2 spheres. Let me go back for a minute. That's these 2 right here. This is that, what is that, 102 power. We go to 1638 power with the electron microscope. They're quite pretty, actually. The structure is a little different. I call this, actually the student called this sphere Y because it looks like yarn wrapped into a ball. And this was sphere 4, turned out. We looked at several of these spheres. Now, something new as we look at these tiny spheres. This is sphere Y. Does it look like thermate? Does it have the basic signature? The answer is yes. So look at the aluminum peak there, and iron, and sulfur. Iron, about 50%, aluminum, about 20%. Very typical for thermites also. Now we have a lot of manganese and potassium. Look at that showing up. When I saw this, I just about jumped up and down. What does potassium and manganese, anybody know what would you use as an oxidizer?
Potassium permanganate.
Right, potassium permanganate. It's a great oxidizer. I had put potassium permanganate in one of our thermite reactions last September, after I was put on leave incidentally. But I was after I was put on leave, I still kept going. I want to know, I don't care, I want to know what's going on here. And I want to know. You know, we want to know, and we want some answers. So, in these, they're called aluminothermic or thermite type reactions. Aluminum powder, and then you have an oxide or oxidizer. Iron oxide. Here, these are the typical ones. I wrote this slide some time ago. Copper oxide, potassium permanganate, barium nitrate, sulfur, of course, to make the residue, this molten stuff when you're done, to make it cut through steel quickly. You add sulfur. So here, I was just amazed. I mean, this is nothing like steel now. These little droplets, the tiny ones, you know, 10, 50 micron drops, these little spheres have potassium and manganese. I mean, building materials, where are you going to get that much potassium in a building material host? This is the smoking gun. Another one.
Evidence.
It is very strong evidence. This is the formula that I used if you're interested. In September, I saved the little spheres from the reaction as it went off. I looked at these spheres after I saw what was in the World Trade Center test. By the way, I remind you, the reactions are dangerous, only to be done by trained professionals such as myself. Okay. Okay, so we compare with thermate again. This is this stuff, and that manganese, potassium, sulfur, aluminum. You see the same thing as what was in. And again, I did this thermate reaction last September. I looked at the tiny World Trade Center spheres in April, actually earlier this month. Compare with steel, it's just nothing like the steel. I've looked at other spheres, there are variations. You still see the iron, potassium, sulfur. Sometimes you get more manganese like this one shows up. Here's sphere 4, that other sphere. Look at that. Iron, manganese, potassium, sulfur, aluminum, and magnesium showing up in this one, which is interesting. So there, there's some variations that do occur. Now,